So I view retirement and thinking about retirement as like exiting from a good party. And that stick with me with this analogy. I know that this is kind of funny. And I know that there's people from all ages that are listening to this, and it applies to a lot of different settings, right? Um, and it goes like this. So a lot of people want to stay to the very end of a good party, except for when they're at the very end, they're the last ones that are there. They're kind of all hungover. There's at least one or two people that want to kick them out. They're like, get the hell home. Um, and they are really not doing well inside, right? Like they've kind of gone too far on something. I view retirement and thinking about retirement or just end of stage of anything as trying to leave on a high note. And I know that's really difficult to sort of find a high note. There's actually research on this. And the research is basically there's no definitive thing, right? It's called stopping rules. It's from mathematics. It's used in a bunch of different contexts. But I kind of view like retirement in the same way. It's really difficult to know when is the right moment. But I think from a behavioral view, you want to leave on a high note so that you have fond memories and you're doing really well, right? Like if you stay too long and you sort of maximize everything as, the stopping rule would probably get you to think about, your career in terms of maximizing efficiency and all of that kind of bullshit. um, you would you would stay for as long as you possibly can. You'd probably be 75, 80 years old by the time you're done, and then you've got about 5 years and you're going to die, right? Like I think that's pretty much. Um, I am simplifying things. People live to a much older age now. I think a lot of people live until they're, 100. It's very, very likely if you're still alive at this given moment that you will live until you're 100. Um, like there is there is a good chance that that will happen. Um, but if you're listening to this, right, you're thinking about these kind of moments in our lives is like, when should we stop doing something, or when should we move on to something else? And there's never a good moment, right? Like there's not something that just says this is it. But I think looking for high moments, right, where it feels like, oh, this is pretty good, is an important part of, living a healthy life and then exiting at that particular high moment. Now, here's another challenging thing that we do know, and this comes from finance. Um, you can't time the market. There's no good moment. It's not going to feel like this is the right time. And if you step out, of the market, this is the challenging thing, right? You step out of the market, then you're likely stepping out at totally the wrong time. In that there's probably a lot more to grow. There's a lot more potential that could ever happen, right? So what can you do given this, right? Like you don't know what is the right time. You could be like at 65. You could be earlier. I hope. Um, you know, I hope that I retire earlier. I think that's healthy. But at the same time, I also can see myself as like, yeah, if everything's going fine, maybe I'll find something that will just be kind of like, yeah, I'll just come in and do my little thing every once in a while and putter and go home, right? Like that is a possibility too. But I don't think so. Um, so I think like, what do you do, right, in this circumstance? How do you handle this? You set yourself up so that you can retire at any given moment and you're not stuck, right? I think that that is a key thing to think about, is making sure that you're never stuck at any given moment or feel stuck, right? There's a big difference between you're stuck and when you feel stuck. Um, and that is just thinking about like, how do you set yourself up for that, right? You start it crazy, crazy early. If you're listening to this, I hope you are, and you're in your 20s, and you just started working, think about it. Think about your retirement day. Actually start planning towards it. Start saving money, right? Get rid of all those debts that you have as quick as you possibly can. And I mean like crazy quick, within a year or two. And then after that, think about living a good life that you're kind of living retirement right now, right? Like imagining yourself, what would it be? What would you do if you're living retirement and then live it at this given moment? And then on top of it, start sucking so much money away, right? That's why I say 15% everything you ever make. Um, Probably more if you want to do more, that's great. But that's like the minimum, 10-15% minimum that you're socking away. And I don't want you to go like too much, right? That's why I want you to think about like this is your retirement right now, right? Like if you sock away everything, you're not never gonna live a life. So you're gonna find like that happy medium, right? Um, so sock money away so that when time comes when you're, I don't know, I don't know, if you start when you're in your 20s or late 20s, by the time that you're in your late 40s, you should be able to, that is a plausibility, right? If you were to live life properly, you can retire, right? If you start earlier and you do this in your early 20s, man, it could be in your early 40s where it's a possibility. Where you're like, yeah, you know what? This is totally a possibility to retire at this given moment. That's where I want you to sort of think about these things is give yourself options so that you can do things, right? Like that's an important thing. And the only way that you can give yourself options, you start socking away money. Um, and it doesn't feel good in the moment. Everybody else is gonna be like, "You're thinking about retirement. You're crazy. What are you doing?" Like all of that kind of stupid stuff. Be crazy, be weird. That time comes, and you're gonna be really happy you actually did it, and you listen to some old kook on a podcast someplace. All right, take care, and have a wonderful day.